Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Approval of minutes. We have minutes from October 24th, November 2nd, and December 19th.
November 2nd. Yeah.
Yep.
Motion to approve minutes as presented.
Okay. Do you have a second?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions or comments, anybody? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'm sorry, I did not adopt the agenda, did I? Guess we'll have to go back and do that to make this all fair and square. Could I get a motion to adopt the agenda before we start
So
the
moved.
agenda?
Second.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Should have got my name on there. You could have adopted me too.
No thanks. Refused. Okay, business. Larson Bullets update.
We have had some meetings, specifically with Carroll County, all of our financiers on the Larson Boats project. All indications are that they will pay back the loans when the property does cease to operate here. Their formal announcement is that they are moving the operations to Pulaski, Wisconsin. There is active purchase or discussion of the sale of property. We don't have any details that we can disclose beyond that, but their intent, even if any purchase didn't go through, that the loans are going to get paid off in full, the balances of those. So for the city, we have both our EDA and the MIF funding. So
Good.
And they're current with their payments to this point
Awesome.
too. They continue to make payments all along, so.
No, I know you can't talk about it, but it's still moving forward with the purchase. As doesn't that end?
I don't have.
Okay.
I'm not in the negotiations with them. They're so.
Okay.
I think Carol is basically our area representative for all of the groups as far as the loan goes, and she has a non-disclosure agreement with them. So I can't speak to anything else beyond that. So
I'd say cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
I hope so.
Okay, any other questions on that, on Larson's? Phoenix Plastics update?
So, we did receive the payment on one of the Phoenix Plastics loans paid in full, but because we have a subordination, an agreement with the other two lending institutions, the proceeds of that loan were split on a percentage-wise based on the amount of the loans that we all have. So the one loan that community development in the city had with them is paid in full, although we don't keep all the proceeds because some of them went back to the split with the Initiative Foundation. But at least they got paid, and that one is
So are they
that
current now?
is done. Well, there's still the one outstanding loan, but whether or not we'll receive the full payment on that, I don't know at this point. But the one anyway is paid, so.
I don't have any regrets. We had to do it at the time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
J.C. Penney building update.
So I have had the building assessed for hazardous materials. I know that was a piece of information that we're going to need, and it would certainly be something that we'll need in correlation with that resolution coming up too for the grant application. And with that, did get a proposal back from the person that did the assessment. I sent out another inquiry for a request for a proposal to mitigate the hazardous material, and I have yet to receive feedback from that. I set a deadline of today for it, but the proposal that I did get back from the one party was much more optimistic in terms of price. A rough estimate that I was given when we were walking through, and this was by no means of somebody that's in that business, was this could potentially be $50,000 to $75,000. It is less than that, so which is good, which is good. And community development does have, if for the city-owned properties, they do have a grant available to help mitigate some of the costs of that, the hazardous material. So So we would be able to receive some financing from them to help offset that cost. So the other piece of it is, noting the conditions or noting the factors of our downtown area that are problematic to ownership and operating buildings. Parking is probably the biggest one. We have another parking meeting. It'll be our third, I think, in the last year about discussing the parking availability in downtown. And this building has no off-street parking at all. So in order to, I guess, put this building in its best position to move forward, if there is a prospective group that's out there to own it, group, individual, anything, it would, having the hazardous materials taken care of and having parking available, off-street parking available would probably be the two best things to position this building in an area to succeed. So, we talked about how do we manage getting these buildings, because there's so much money and investment that needs to go into them that's never going to be recouped from the next property owner. How can we position them into a position where that they can be financially viable for somebody? I think those would be the two things that we should really look at doing as an EDA instead of moving forward. So when I get the final proposal on the hazard mitigation, we'll probably call another meeting next month to move forward with that, so we can get that part taken care of, and then possibly discussing a plan of what other things do we want to do to the building to leave it for the next ownership group. So, and then Doug and Adam are here. They've been meeting with a couple groups, and they actually are hosting an event tonight. And this isn't specific to the JCPenney building. These are things that were coming up in our community, questions and concerns that individuals were having for a long time. But they're moving forward with trying to gather information to developing a property co-op. Similar to what Susie Presapio was doing with the group about the Purple Carrot Market. There was these concerns and interests about what's going on in our community with some vacant properties, and specifically in our downtown area. And so there are other groups. There's one specifically in northeast Minneapolis that has been established and do own at least one property. We met with one of the people there. They gave a lot of information, shared a lot of information, and actually this message is going out across the country too. So as far as the city's perspective, I think it'd be really interesting for us to hear what the interest level is with the community. So if Doug or Adam, if you have anything that you want to share to this.
Well, I think just kind of what you talked about. I mean, we're gonna have it was in the record, I think, this past weekend, so we're gonna do just a meeting to see if there's an appetite for it in town. So it's open to anyone who wants to just to try to investigate it and stuff. And as John said, it's not specific to this building. But I actually grew up in northeast Minneapolis, so I was able to really relate to what they did down there, and very similar to here, other than the size, but again, ran in the same deal. A lot of older buildings, a lot of very similar buildings to ours, and they were able to get something going and rehabilitate one building with the idea that, this co-op group gets these buildings, gets them functional, and then gets, I guess, kind of similar to what Susie has, rents it out to as much as possible, almost kind of like the old Larson building or whatever they're doing there, where they have multiple tenants in there. Crestliner building. So then, eventually that if somebody is successful enough, they might be able to possibly take it over or, do that. So, and, start small and do whatever. But again, the appetite has to be there for people to do it. So, and that's essentially what I passed out is kind of just kind of a Q&A and kind of the rough concept behind it. So nothing's really set in stone, just informational tonight to see if we can move forward. So.
Are you guys aware of the programs that we try to do? I mean, have you guys been talking?
Just from the discussions that we've had, and then also in helping the guide, maybe moving this forward in Madison, I had Business Development Corporation. So not specifically cooperative, but a very similar premise. It was a group of either business owners, individuals, farmers, people in the community that were willing to make an investment or raise funds to help be the owners of these properties so that they could facilitate the next, successful person to have this building. Because the concern had been for years of, one building in downtown, for an example, it was sold online. Person never saw it, never ever came up to Minnesota, never seen it. He lived in Louisiana, owned the building, thinking he was going to speculate it for something, and ultimately it's like, what did I get myself into? Why did I buy this building? Like, I don't want it. So he's kind of like stopped paying taxes on it, and we're seeing it sitting in the corner, right in the corner of our downtown. And so the concern was, what's going to happen to this thing when nobody's paying any attention to it? The roof's going to start collapsing, the building's going to start falling down, and it's right in the corner of the downtown, the main street. So they came in and actually bought the building from that individual and worked with our city's EDA grant loan programs that we had to facilitate doing a lot of the work that was necessary. Converted it into, separated out into 2 different buildings for owners, and eventually we're renting them for a few years and eventually sold it and took the proceeds of that to work into the next project.
And that's what we're really looking to do here, is not to be an investment group to buy up downtown and make money and do all this stuff. It's literally grassroots, everybody put in some money, and together we get some capital and have this, if we do form this group, it's the vehicle, it's the vessel to go and apply for grants, apply for loans, go out there and have a name and a face and a board to say, yes, we'd like to apply for this land, this grant and this loan and these kinds of things. And then through that, develop it, and then hopefully sell it off, take that money, and then go to the next building. So it is it's a pass-through structural vehicle just to keep, hopefully make downtown vibrant and have local people help develop local buildings that nobody else wants for local people to then start businesses and hopefully local people to buy it. I mean, it's...
Well, my question relates more to, we'll get the HPC, which potentially might be able to help you guys. They'll do storefronts. They would own the storefront, but low interest loans that could be forgivable depending upon how this is structured. We're talking about trying to do something like that within the EDA to help with the inside of the building, i.e. roofs, heating systems,
plumbing.
now the problem you're going to have to watch is how it's structured, because if you're doing it for profit or whatever, we may not be able to help if we follow the same rules as HPC, right?
So a lot of those are the deferred loans or forgivable loans are based on ownership for over time. So that if you own the buildings over a period of time, then the loans just get, portions of the loans continue to fall off. So like if you guys are owning it and you're not the end user, like ultimately you'll still be responsible for paying some of those loans back, but hopefully the success would be in your situation, like what we had in Madison, where they were able to sell the buildings and pay off the loans, and yet still have some proceeds to work towards the next project. So
I just wanted you guys to be aware that those programs exist, and if you can structure it properly, we may be able to help you.
Exactly, that's what we're hoping.
Well, and I would say the other part of that is the EDA part isn't totally structured yet.
No,
And I
just
think we
starting.
need to take a look at that.
Yeah.
If it's an instance where it's just to turn it over and keep our downtown vibrant, maybe there's another set of rules.
that's the
Because there's a difference between profitability and,
We
just
maybe
trying
we
to
can
make
build
it
in some
viable.
more flexibility.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
if that group does get together, or any other groups, I think we would be willing, not speaking for everybody, but I would be willing to entertain that fact that some of those dollars may not be paid back, but we need to invest, otherwise we all know we decided to get that building because we know what's gonna happen to it if we didn't, that it was gonna do just what John said, it's gonna sit empty, we're not gonna get any taxes on it, and it's gonna continue to fall apart, and then what do we have? It's gonna cost us a fortune to tear it down and make a parking lot there, which isn't the ideal spot, so.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we're still talking stages. We haven't put anything to paper yet. So.
But I'm glad we're having this conversation now, because this could you know, how we structure it could.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's all we wanted to do today.
Right,
Just let you guys know what
you know,
exists.
there's hopefully gonna be a group after tonight,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's kind of what the thought process is out there right
Well,
now.
I mean, we're very much into saving our downtown, so we're trying to come up with a way.
Yeah, so we appreciate your work and
Okay.
your input, so thank you very much.
Very
Thank you
good.
very much.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you
guys.
for having us today.
Well, another question I have is, you're right, we need to set this up so, like with the J.C. Penney building, the city owns it. So we could apply for these grants. If the
Yes.
city didn't own it, are those grants
There's
still?
some that, yes, there's some owner grant opportunities that might not function. The one redevelopment grant does not necessarily have to be city owned, but the mitigation grants do. With community development, we would need to be the owners of the property. There's other, you know, specifically with that redevelopment, there's two funding pots. One was demolition and the other was in redevelopment. The redevelopment, we did not need to be the owner, but we needed to be involved to ensure, and knowing who the end user was gonna be actually scores you even more points. So having a future use for it, other than just saying, hey, we're gonna hold on to it and fix it up, like, it's better if we actually had a plan, so.
Okay, anything else on that?
And that meeting's now at 7 o'clock at
7 o'clock at
Great
Great River Arts tonight, yep. Doors open at 6:30. Thank you.
Yep, thanks guys.
Good luck.
Yep.
Okay, resolution 2017-01, approval of grant application.
So this resolution would be for the EDA to approve us submitting that grant application to D to do the hazardous mitigation on the property and potentially some of the demolition and redevelopment of that property.
So
we're
eligible
working on
uses
that.
are for hazard mitigation and for redevelopment. So if it's taking, you know, down the wall and making a parking lot out of it, that would certainly qualify.
More options, the better. Do I have a,
So moved.
okay,
Second.
we have a motion by Bob and a tie for second with Brad and Mark. Any further questions on, or comments on this resolution?
Part of it is if the project identified in the application fails to substantially provide the public benefits listed, does that mean if it's not sold or?
No, well, when we fill out the application, we're
Yeah.
gonna list what the benefits are
Mhm.
to doing this. So if we don't meet those, then potentially, the loan could have to be paid back, because this would be a grant. And so I think what they're trying to avoid happening is that we put in there that we're going to do this hazard mitigation and, we're gonna turn around and sell the property and, you know,
Yeah.
create business, create tax base.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, we get in there, we, you know, mitigate the asbestos or whatever is in there, and then tear the whole building down and make a parking lot out of it. You know, that's not creating jobs, it's not adding to the tax
Okay,
base.
yeah,
So
that makes
those are
sense.
the kinds of things
I
they don't
just
want you
wanted
to
to
say
tie us
one
down too
thing and
much,
do
yeah.
something else.
Yeah, because that's, like I said, there's two separate pots of money. If you're gonna do the tear down, apply for the tear down grant. If you're gonna do the redevelopment one, apply for the redevelopment funds.
Further questions or comments?
Not on that.
Okay. We have to call for a vote.
Oh, yep,
Resolution.
let's see, Brad,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes,
carries.
okay. Business consolidation.
We did get, actually Carol was contacted from one of our businesses in town, that they're looking for proposals, and they're exploring both Minnesota and Wisconsin at this time, but they have businesses in Minnesota that they're looking to consolidate, and one of them is in Little Falls, so they have different facilities throughout this state. So they wanted a proposal that would include finding them a space that could have 100,000 square feet. So basically they take all of the Minnesota area that they have and put it into one facility that would be 100,000 square foot facility. So this isn't a property that the city owns. So they had a request deadline for our proposal, what sort of benefits that we would have to them last week on the 18th was the deadline. So as part of that, we were looking at potentially offering maybe $100,000 forgivable loan for their moving expenses. If they were to move to Little Falls, we would provide that loan, and it would be deferred over 5 years, as long as they met the job performance increases that they also had. So they were looking to, it would be sustaining the 22 jobs that they have here and adding 50 more. So that was kind of the big piece. Then we'd also, if there is additional loan dollars that they need to help in the finance for getting the facility up to date, that we potentially could be offering them that at a lower interest rate. We offered, initially put down 3% as the interest rate in our letter. So none of this is official. It's all contingent upon the EDA. If they come back and request further information, we would bring it back to you guys to approve any sort of offer that we would make. But they needed, we didn't have time in between their request and their deadline to have the meeting for a formal offer.
And once again, this is, you have to count it like 77 jobs, because if we're gonna lose those 22 potentially. So to keep that, and you guys all know the competition for all those businesses anymore, industrial or anything else, that it's a bidding war. And how much 77 jobs means to this community is, we have to put a price tag on that.
Do we have a building for them?
They're not city owned, but there is a facility in town that would have enough space that they've actually contacted the owner.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Which would help fill up a building and,
All right, we don't have to build.
I mean, 100,000 square feet is a lot of space.
That's a big building, yeah.
yeah.
And
Any
who
questions?
was this again? I missed that.
Didn't say.
You
and I
didn't
can't
say.
say.
Okay, never mind. I was just
They requested that
what
we not.
kind of business, so that's okay.
It's manufacturing.
It is manufacturing,
Yeah.
okay, that's really what I was after.
And last I'd heard, there's about 1 million square feet in Brainerd and 1 million square feet in St. Cloud that are available, so, we have to do what we have to do to
Right.
get these businesses in.
Right. No, I understand all that, yeah. Well, we're friendlier than they are up north here.
Okay, so
That's just information then, right?
Yeah.
yes, yeah. So until we get a response from them on that letter, then it's basically this is perspective, and we did indicate that it's all contingent upon EDA approval. So
Any indication of their timeline?
this year, if they did the move, it would be in 27. All of it would be in 2017. So
Sounds good.
they want to act quickly on this. So our hopes is that somebody doesn't have, and we would hope that if there is another offer and that ours wasn't successful, maybe we can make some other considerations too. So, but again, Carol's taken the lead on that.
And I'm sure community development will be involved in it also, so, as far as the board.
Right, that's a good step forward.
Yeah.
Somebody else interested.
Some good stuff going on.
Yeah.
Hope we can pull them off. Okay, anything under other? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
We did introduce our new member.
I don't know who he is.
I bet you don't.
Whatever.
You ever seen him?
You
at
know
work?
Bob?
Just occasionally.
Yeah.
You know Bob? See, okay, there it goes.
Nice to meet you, Mark Kirby.
Oh, I thought everybody knew you.
I do.
No, I know him,
I know who
yeah.
he is.
Motion to adjourn still.
So moved.
Okay, second, Brad, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed can stay.